Congress back on the Hill after a long Easter recess. That's not the only big story coming out of Washington tonight. In fact, some of it's coming out of Arizona. Let's break it all down. Reese Gorman is politics reporter for the Daily Beast, and he's up late with me tonight here on the Final Five. Welcome back, man. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me on.
Let's first of all talk about a story that came out yesterday that you reported on and the Daily Beast reported on, but it really has come into more of a focus now that we have this ruling, this decision out of Arizona, which more or less outlaws all abortions done on the state level. This is what Donald Trump made headlines for yesterday, saying that he would prefer to defer to the states, and that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, 100%. So Arizona came out today, ruled this that this 1864 law is now the law of Arizona. So basically banning all abortions, minus life of the mother. So this is exactly, like you said, what Trump came out. He said it should be left up to the states. The federal government should not play a role, and states should kind of have the main hand in that. And that angered a lot of his base. A lot of conservative pro-life movement came out. Mike Pence, his former vice president, kind of eviscerated Trump's position. The Susan B. Anthony list, which is one of the biggest pro-life kind of organizations in America, they came out, so they were deeply disappointed. We here at the Daily Beast talked to Bob Vanderplatz, who is this major evangelical figure in Iowa. He is big in the Iowa Republican caucuses. He is also deeply disappointed in the former president's stance, as is Lindsey Graham, who's a Trump ally. He's often has been used in the past as kind of punching bag for Donald Trump and for this kind of Republican base. But they've been getting on kind of off on a good hand recently. And we just saw yesterday Trump just eviscerated him on Truth Social for Lindsey Graham saying that he does not agree with Trump's stance. Trump said, "I apologize to the people of South Carolina for endorsing Lindsey Graham. Otherwise, he would not have a place in the Senate right now." So Trump really angered some people, but at the same time, he made some people happy. Some never Trumpers were actually like, this position's kind of good. We talked to Alyssa Farah Griffin, who obviously is a huge critic of Trump, was once his director of strategic communications. She said that the stance actually makes sense. It's very good politically, as were some other kind of staffers and aides in Republican politics. They thought that this was a good move from the former president.
This really dovetails, though, in this whole idea of federalism, where we've had these discussions about where the federal government has a role to play, and in many cases, and Trump alluded to this in his video, where there were a lot of legal scholars. I wouldn't say from both sides, like he said, but there were a lot of legal scholars that looked at Roe and said, this should be a state issue, and that would seem to. But it also tees up a whole new bunch of talking points for Democrats on the campaign trail.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they're going to tie abortion around the necks of every Republican in a state where abortion is strict. You're going to see it done in Arizona. You're already seeing it. Carrie Lake came out after previously saying to NBC News that she supported this 1864 law. This was back in 2022. She came out today and said that she does not support this. So she does not support it. Democrats are now trying to tie this around her neck. And you're going to see it played out all over the place, where there's a vulnerable Republican in a state where abortion is illegal. They're gonna really play on this, as they are to Trump. As soon as this Trump kind of made this statement known, Joe Biden came out and kind of said, well, all this is at Trump's feet. Everything that's happening, he might want to try to get away with it. But he appointed the justices that overturned Roe v. Wade, and now all these states overturning abortion, that's on him.
Yeah. I want to move on to, as we mentioned, Congress is back in session, and before everybody went off on Easter recess, we had a motion to vacate filed against Mike Johnson. We've had impeachment articles supposed to be transmitted to the Senate against Alejandro Mayorkas. But right now, a lot of members of Congress came back to a letter, a dear member letter from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's not backing down on this push against Mike Johnson.
No, if anything, she's doubling down. She in this 5-page letter, which is just what better way to be welcomed back from your 2-week recess in a 5-page letter. She laid out, this is her first time laying out kind of this pitch to all her colleagues as to why she believes Johnson does not deserve the gavel. She laid out his 7 tenets that he proposed to them whenever he was first running for speaker back to October. And then she laid out point by point how he has not met any of those tenets. He said that Johnson is funding abortion measures, that he's funding this pro-trans movement, end quote. And this is like, she kind of just goes step by step onto all these things that she's accusing him of. She said, quote, he's ceding control of the Democrats. And just really kind of, there's a lot of these Republican talking points just kind of draw the eye of Republicans, both in Congress and throughout the country, just like kind of those pro-abortion stuff, just that kind of just drive the narrative to be like, oh, this is what he's doing. And she kind of laid that out in a 5-page letter. Johnson has not responded to it yet. I asked him about it earlier today. He did not respond. And so also this whole Mayorkas thing is also going to not help him now that he's delaying sending over the articles of impeachment to the Senate.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is supposed to be an impeachment manager in this trial against Mayorkas if it were to come to pass. And I've talked about her so much on this show, and people have said, why do you give her the airtime? But I'm curious, you've been on Capitol Hill for a while. Is she the loudest voice, or does she carry a lot of power?
I think she's definitely the loudest voice. Now, she does have sway. People do respect Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's a handful of people within this conservative movement that really do follow her, look up to her, just because of how she's risen the ranks so fast. But I think there is also this sense a lot of people in the Freedom Caucus don't respect her. There are obviously some moderates that don't necessarily like her. And so I think all that stuff kind of plays into the fact that this motion to vacate might not succeed, even if it were to be filed, if people might agree with it. Just because it's her, they might not want to vote for it. You saw the same thing with Rashida Tlaib's censure measure that she introduced. A lot of people wanted Tlaib censured. They wanted to see her censured, but they voted against it because it was Marjorie Taylor Greene and because some of the language that she had used leading up to that censure. You've also seen a lot of inflammatory rhetoric, as I mentioned before, used about the motion to vacate against Mike Johnson. People might agree with kind of ousting Mike Johnson, but they might not agree with the rhetoric that Marjorie Taylor Greene is using. And so I think that's sometimes where she gets herself in trouble.
Reese, out of time. I always appreciate the insight. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Final Five is back right after this.